Welcome to the circuit, Ricardo Tormo. The sun in the sky here just outside Valencia. This is the second of two races here around this tight, twisty 14-turn circuit. And yesterday we had a championship clinched, the AM Championship, going for the second year running to Philippe Pret. He did it in style. He took it with outright victory in his LP Racing Maserati. Conditions warm, slightly muggier than yesterday. My name is Bruce Jones, joined by my weather correspondent, Joe Osborne.
Yeah, just strolling around the paddock, it's definitely closer, the weather. No rain forecast at the moment, but won't be surprised if we've got a few breaks later on. Track temp is creeping up as well now, still under 30 degrees, whereas yesterday it was in the high 30s for this race, so that would be a difference. And what a race it was from Philippe Pret. Like you said, now champion, but one overall. And we saw some fast cars. This was one of them. The Audi of Luca Piri was very quick towards the end of the race, doing the full hour by himself, like Philippe Pret, but his pace was very, very strong. So he'll be looking to replicate that once more today.
So cars coming to the grid. It's a 1 hour race. Driver change for the 5 crews that have 2 drivers, but as Joe pointed out, 3 drivers deciding to do the whole hour. And it was hard work yesterday because you've only really got the main straight where you can even have a semblance of relaxation. Now a car that has been in super form all year. It's leading the Pro-Am title. It's Broniek, Formignac and Stefan Racina. They gathered 4 wins and 2 second places in the first 6 races, but a 6th followed by a 3rd. And a 5th yesterday shows that they could be a little bit fallible, but they're always there or thereabouts. And for the GT2 Series, we've got exciting times ahead with a scholarship for next year. If you choose to drive Maserati with a Silver Crew or a Mercedes, there is a prize for whichever of those Silver Crews at the end of the season are best placed, and that will be a fully funded drive in the GT World Challenge in GT3 in 2027. So that's massive, and we're expecting quite an influx to have a silver class alongside the Pro-Am class we have now and the AM class. And talking of AM, here is yesterday's race winner, yesterday's AM winner and yesterday's AM champion, Philippe Pret. And with his son Louis going so well in the GT3 in the GT World Challenge, it's a very happy hunting ground for them so far here at the circuit Ricardo Tormo.
Exactly that, and with a round to go as well, we go to Barcelona as well, so he's done a mega job to be so consistent this season.
Yeah, certainly a smile of satisfaction on his face before the podium ceremony for Philippe Pret. There'll be a Maserati on pole position today for today's 1 hour race, but it will not be his. It will be the gold and black one from Dynamic Motorsports, Robert Pampanini and Mauro Calamia, with Mauro setting the pole time very neatly when qualifying was undertaken yesterday. So cars coming down to form up on the grid. We've got 4 in the Pro-Am class and 4 in AM as well. The 2 glorious looking safety and lead cars, Maserati MC20s, sitting out front with their doors cocked up. It's a warmish morning here. Not as hot as yesterday, but certainly yesterday had plenty of incident in the 1 hour of racing. And we expect very much the same story today, looking as the last handful of cars come around to the grid. And the gold and black one, that is the car that will be starting from pole position, and alongside on home ground will be the Mercedes of Neil Montserrat, the NM Racing Team Mercedes. That's the gunmetal car that will be sitting on the outside of the front row.
Just trying to see if we could listen in on that one. But yeah, that NM Racing car had the problem yesterday, didn't it? Boxed for a battery issue, we were told. Lost 5-6 laps and then got back out there, but yeah, expect a hard start from Neil Montserrat, team boss and the start driver of that Mercedes.
Yeah, they lost about 8 laps while they were fixing the problem, but again, they might as well have done that once the problem had reared its head, so they could come and play today in better form. So Mauro Calamia will be starting from pole position. That's the side away from the pit wall. And of course, all drivers focus on what is going to happen on that run down to turn 1. It's a tightish corner. A lot of drivers do end up running wide, and the feature very much of every race meeting here at the circuit Ricardo Tormo is track limit excess. And certainly you can almost bet your bottom dollar, or even your last dollar, that that's going to be happening again today. It's very, very easy to transgress. And there were 6 points, Joe, around the circuit, around the 14 turns, where these have predominantly been exceeded, the track limits lines.
Yeah, exactly. And it's done by camera, so there's no real argument anymore. The picture taken to race control, and then they are given the penalty off the back of that. And it was prevalent yesterday in race 1.
Well, let's go down to the grid because Alex Legui has caught up with Stefan Racina.
Stefan, from the back of the grid to the podium yesterday, how much confidence does that give you ahead of today's race?
Well, we are struggling when it's hot. Sun starts to shine now, so let's see. But as yesterday, we will fight till the end, and hopefully we need to get some good points because we are fighting for the championship. But it's true that we are struggling because obviously we have a cup car. Nevertheless, I don't want to say anything. We are here to fight, so let's see.
Fair play. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you to Stefan Racina. He starts today's race with a 25-point margin, and that's 25 points for victory. 18, 15, 12, 10, etc. down to 1 point for 10th place. But we do still have 2 more races, and they're at Barcelona supporting the final round of the GT World Challenge Endurance Series in just a couple of weeks' time once we cross over into October. It was notable yesterday, Joe, that he was really struggling when in the hotter conditions, particularly as he went through a stint in the Lamborghini.
Yeah, with the car and himself. We saw it in him at the podium. He looked drained and gets hot in these cars, of course. There's an element of cooling, but any cooling is taking power away from the engine. So a lot of the drivers will turn it off to make sure their forward momentum is as good as possible.
Well, let's go back down to the grid, and local racer Neil Montserrat will give us his thoughts, starting from the outside of the front row.
Yesterday was a very tricky day for you. You boys start on the front row of the grid. Time for redemption?
Bueno, ayer tuvimos algunos problemas, como sabéis.
In English.
Yesterday we have some problems, as you know, but now we are really happy. The car is okay, and we have good feeling, P2, and good luck for everybody.
And now you can speak to your fans in Spanish, Alberto.
Chicos, muchas gracias a todos por seguirnos. Estamos muy contentos. Esperamos que sea una carrera muy bonita para todos. Gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Alex McGee. And the eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that Neil Montserrat was the driver strapped into the car, and we were speaking to his teammate Alberto De Martin, and certainly smiles all round, racing on home ground. Let's hope they can get a result that rewards their effort today. Yesterday they came away a little bit empty-handed. So, countdown to the start. There's 2 Maserati cars at the front of the grid. Not in the race, of course. One is the lead car, one is the safety car. But there is a Maserati MC20 on pole position. It's the gold and black one from Dynamic Motorsport and Mauro Calamia, considering what is coming up ahead. And let's go back down to the grid to hear from the driver who's starting from pole position, Mauro Calamia, with Alex.
Mauro, you are very much keeping the fight alive. Yesterday was a great day. Time to convert it to another win?
Yeah, we hope so, but it will be quite difficult for the penalty that we took from the win from yesterday, the 10 seconds penalty from the pit stop. But I will try everything, and also Roberto. We will push till the end.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a point well worth considering. Well raised, Alex, down there. Of course, you get success penalty if you place well in your class, and they won their class yesterday, so that means 10 seconds extra at the pit stops. We'll keep an eye on that, but really it's a question of in which order they reach the pit stops in this GT2 European Series race. And we've got front row, Maserati, Mercedes. Second row, we've got Lamborghini, that's Stefan Racina. We heard from him. And Mato Homola, who set the fastest lap of the race, he is in the lone KTM. You can see its lid on left-hand side of your screen lifted up. Don't want to close that on the drivers yet. People in other cars have normal doors. But let's go down. Well, I just mentioned his name, Mato Homola, and we're going to head back down there. He's the KTM driver. He's starting from 4th on the grid.
Mato, yesterday was quite a roller coaster and turned into quite a race. Ready to repeat?
Yeah, honestly, we would like to have less stress in the pit wall and also as the drivers. So we would like to have no collisions, to have good start, good first stint, and then hopefully Victor will be fast as I was yesterday.
Good, fingers crossed.
Thanks.
So very much a driver, Mato Homola, with his eyes on the prize, and he's going to see what he can do on this opening lap. Can he, certainly his form yesterday in the second half of the race, he'd be looking very handy, and that KTM seems an excellent tool around a circuit as twisty as this, Joe.
Yeah, it really does. In Sector 2, it was very strong, wasn't it? And we see the ebb and the flow of it as ever. And there's our third driver driving by themselves. Oliver Thramuth did a good job yesterday, didn't he? As the leaders caught up, he was very aware and made sure he didn't get involved in that overall lead battle.
Yeah, I mean, it can really make a race pivot, and certainly Philippe Pret was thinking, please stay out my way because I've got Mauro Calamia getting closer to me, and he did precisely that. Oliver moved to the side of the circuit and let them through. Sometimes tricky on a circuit as twisty as this because the passage between some of the lefts and rights are very, very short indeed. Often they come in sort of complexes, groups together. Petra Lisa had a really good race yesterday for the RTR projects. You get used to them running KTMs, but also running the Mercedes this year. And Petra featured well at the start. They lost ground, eventually ended up 6th overall, but in the opening lap of the race, he propelled himself from, well, not nowhere, but up into 2nd place, and certainly had to go a couple of times when Roberto Pampanini got a little bit out of shape. He leapt through to from 3rd to 2nd, fell back to 3rd again, but, had a really good opening run there.
Yeah, and then it was contact with his teammate in the KTM, wasn't it? And then got judged to have been at fault, so got the drive-through penalty, and suddenly the race really unravelled for that Mercedes. On the back row there, on the left, the drone shot. Always impressive, but a great illustration of the differences between the manufacturers we have. The Maserati, we have the Audi, the Mercedes, the KTM, and it's just incredible that these cars are so closely matched together lap time-wise around all the circuits GT2 go to.
Yeah, and the point Stefan Racina made was that he's in a cup class car for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. There it is. And they race in the Super Trofeo series as well. But Mechanet Motorsport very much wedded to Lamborghini, and we'll see how Stefan can go in this race. Certainly, he'll be rather pleased the conditions are cooler than when they went racing yesterday afternoon. Because that moment when you see a driver, being interviewed after the race, and all they want to do is sit down and have a drink. And as soon as it was over, he sat down and did precisely that. So 8 cars on the grid, and just to reiterate, we've got a scholarship next year for Silver Crews who are going to join the championship. So not just Pro-Am and Am, that will boost the numbers, but particularly for those that decide to come and race a Maserati or a Mercedes, that enters them in the scholarship. And that could be something really, really worth having, because the prize for the best place of those at season's end is a paid-for season in the GT World Challenge, moving up to GT3 for 2027. So that really, as we were saying yesterday, Joe, is a prize that if you win that, and this is a fantastic shop window, this could put a driver on the road to becoming a professional racing driver, and who knows where it can lead from there, because GT3 is the global formula for cars with roofs.
Yeah, I agree with that. And these GT2 cars still finding their feet in the food chain of GT racing, but going to be a very important one, my opinion. As the budgets continue to rise, GT2 fills that void where they're more road car based than the GT3 cars. They're higher power, but less grip. So they're more engaging to drive than the GT3 and at a lower price. And that's where I think GT2 will find a very important niche as we go forward in GT racing.
Yeah, I mean, GT3 is the global formula. It's the support category, the secondary category in the World Endurance Championship. We've got all the GT World Challenge Series in Europe, in Asia, in North America and Australia. We have the Intercontinental GT Challenge. On top of all of that, it's grown and grown and grown. And of course, we've got national championships as well, like the British GT Series with GT3s at the front, GT4s at the back. But it's been great success. Right, 15 seconds, the start of the formation lap, and then the cars will come round, and then we'll see who gets down to the first corner in front. Maserati, a lead car. Maserati also on pole. There it is, Mauro Calamia, the gold car entered by Dynamic Motorsport. Lamborghini in behind, Stefan Racina at the wheel. And yesterday's race winner with the APM badge on the nose of his Maserati, that's Philippe Pret, starting 5th on the grid. He landed the AM title yesterday, did it in great style because he was the outright winner. That's how you do it in style.
Yeah, going to be harder in this first stint against the pros in the Pro-Am cars in front of him.
So let's run down the grid. Mauro Calamia, pole position, the Dynamic Motorsport Maserati, alongside Neil Montserrat of the NM Racing team. Stefan Racina, better of the 2 Lamborghini drivers. He starts from Mechanet Motorsport in 3rd. Matt Hommler, he was the fastest driver in yesterday's race. He's 4th in the lone KTM. And then Philippe Pret, now the AM champion for the 2nd year running. His LP Racing Maserati starts top in the AM class, 5th overall, with Luca Piri, who got stronger and stronger as the race went on in his LP Racing Audi, ahead of Andre Rocos, RTR Projects Mercedes, and bringing up the rear, Oliver Framuth, the AKF Motorsport, a Lamborghini. And of course, one of those crews, Andre Rocos' crew, drive-through penalty for them, and that moved them down to 6th in yesterday's race. But showing good form, and particularly with Petra Lisa at the wheel. He'll be taking over in the second half of this 1 hour race.
No tyre ovens in this championship, so the drivers still having to work the tyres left to right. Track was cleaned well last night by the Valencia track crew, so not too much marbles offline at the moment, but that will change over the course of this 1 hour race. The drivers will want to keep on the racing line, and that gets harder towards the end of the race, where some lapped cars potentially will have to be navigated past.
So 8 cars, 4 in each class. The AM Championship has been wrapped up by Philippe Pret. He's got a huge lead, and it cannot be assailed, even with today's race and the 2 races at the final round in Barcelona. But in the Pro-Am class, Formignac and Rosina, their cars starting 3rd on the grid. They have a 25-point margin over Mauro Calamia and Roberto Pampinini, whose car is starting 2 places ahead of them. So you'd have to say it's advantage to the Lamborghini crew. But we've got to get through an hour of racing, and then we'll see how the points fall before they head off to Spain for the start of October. Well, when I say head off to Spain, we're already in Spain, of course, but move across to Barcelona.
Yeah, just down the road, right? Not too bad. And there are some of the marbles. You can see actually round 13. The higher the speed the corner, the more marbles you get. Obviously, the energy going through the tyre and just taking off the surface layer of these very sticky Pirelli rubber. Everyone on the same controlled tyre. So it's all down to the drivers and the cars as they make their way around the last corner.
14 turns in all, and one of the trickiest of all is the last one. So many cars will find themselves naturally sliding wide and possibly picking up track limits warning. Man on the right of your screen there, Stefano Telli, he is very much in an advisory role now, but former Le Mans winner and a very good man to have in your pit lane. He'll be pointing out that too many track limits is not a good thing to get. So, waiting for the rolling start, waiting for the lights to go from red to green. They're still red. How quick will the flick be? Very quick indeed. It looks like a very tidy start from Mauro Calamia, and tucking in behind from the outside the front row, Neil Montserrat. Looks so everybody else is behaving nicely. Down into the first corner, Mato Homola picks up position, goes from 4th up into 3rd in the KTM, and maybe even about to have a look up the inside into turn 2 of Neil Montserrat. No, surely not at this particular point in the race. Neat and tidy. Mauro Calamia gets the job done in the gold Dynamic Motorsport Maserati from pole position. And the first 4 cars, the cars all in the Pro-Am class, with the pros in the Pro-Am lineup, getting away already from the AMs behind.
Yeah, clean start from all now. Rosina on the front foot trying to get past the KTM, and yeah, it was a good start from the KTM of Homola, wasn't it, at the start? But Calamia just went early. You could see the jump he got on the Mercedes of Montserrat, and that's why at the moment, halfway around this opening lap, he is in the lead by a nice, comfortable, it looks like maybe 1.5, 1.6 seconds already.
Yeah, I think the only place change, other than Homola going from 4th up into 3rd in the KTM, I quite fancied that Andre Rokosh had picked up a position. Hey, the same team, but just different car. That's RTR Project, so just waiting for clarification on that. But Mauro Calamia leading the way. The first 4 cars trying to get clear, but don't forget the driver who's in behind them as top car in the app. Yeah, he's staying with them. Philippe Pret, there he is, the APM liveried Maserati, car number 1, last year's AM champion, this year's AM class champion. First couple of corners, he wasn't too close, but by the time they came down the slope through the kink at turn 3 down to turn 4, his Maserati on the till. Don't forget, he won this race outright yesterday. Oh, problem there. Something going wrong for Mato Homola's car. Doesn't quite complete the opening lap as yet. A lot of sparks there, Joe. What do you reckon?
It's done the turbo or catalytic converter, something there, but it was like it was lava powered coming out of turn 14. I suspect that is terminal. He couldn't get to pit entry because it was too late, and there was cars on his inside. Pret to the inside of Rosina, and we talk about Pret being an AM. All the drivers have their categorization from the FIA to make GT racing fair, but Philippe Pret, one of the shiniest bronze graded drivers you can get, and at the moment is hustling that Lamborghini hard, and the KTM is still stranded, and that's why we've got a safety car to recover that car. So all cars will back off and we'll go to safety car. This early on in the race, we always go safety car rather than the full caution yellow.
Yeah, so poor Mato Homola couldn't pit into the Team Vesuvius pit garage there. But so most extraordinary, coming out of the 14th and final corner onto the start-finish straight, sparks issuing from his car as it slowed. Safety car out, Philippe Pret getting, but there it is, off on the left-hand side of your shot. We look at what was the first 5 cars go through. He had been 3rd, but alas, fireworks, wrong time of year for those. And clearly Mato Homola very aware very quickly that all was not right.
Yeah, the elements coming out of the exhaust is normally the catalytic converter breaking down. The components there getting too hot, but had that moved and blocked the exhaust, and that was an issue. And but day done lid up, and unfortunate there, but it had been strong yesterday for the car, like you said earlier, Bruce, but that is always gutting speed, especially on the first lap of the race after a good opening lap for that 89 car.
Yeah, fourth up to third. Great start from Mato Homola. Saw the disappointed face of his teammate for this weekend, Victor Maratz, and RCR Projects now down to just one car, just the Mercedes. You can see coming down behind the APM Maserati, Andros Rokos at the wheel of that, but he's in the AM class. In fact, he's coming second in the AM class right now. But disappointment from Mato Homola. So quick in the closing stages of yesterday's race. He was running third and approaching the flag, but in short order, he picked off two of his rivals and worked his way up to third. Fastest lap in the race. Great start today, but alas, the first of the Parkers.
Yeah, and the KTM has had some reliability issues this year, but in the last few rounds, the team have got on top of it, and it's been a very reliable and a very quick car. Like I said, fastest lap of the race yesterday. So hopefully they can get that car fixed in time for Barcelona, depending on their, obviously, KTM changing their structure at the moment in terms of their motorsport department. So maybe the team already running Mercedes, maybe that's why they've hedged their bets on the manufacturer front.
Yeah, you're quite right. 2 retirements in the first 4 races for Mato Homola when he started the season showing with Laura Kreihammer, but since then it was a run of 5 consecutive finishes, a second and a pair of thirds, the second of those coming yesterday, but a scratch today. So for Mato Homola, disappointment. For Victor Maratz, who didn't get to turn the wheel in anger today, just as much disappointment for him as he sits in the RTR Projects team garage. Right, running around behind the safety car. Clock counting down, 5 minutes of the first hour, just about complete, but disappointment already for one of the teams. For the others, it's all a case of just concentrate, just bear in mind, take a look at the lights on the safety car's roof, still flashing. So Mauro Calamia tucked in behind, and then behind him, Neil Montserrat, Stefan Racina, Philippe Pret, Andre Rokos, Luca Piri and Oliver Freymuth, waiting to be released to go racing again in this GT2 European Series race. The second of 2 at Valencia. I don't think it should be too long, but obviously it's a question of how they can move that KTM from the start-finish straight. It's on driver's left. It's the side away from the pit building. The lid is up, but the car is not being moved. Well, he got to the end he got 1 lap on the board. His wheels are just in front of the finish line. Absolutely zero consequence to him, though.
Hard for the marshals here, because the only way off the track is on the right-hand side in through the pit wall. So let's say carry on to that one even further down. It's further down, but on the right side of the track, on the left side, obviously. That'd be difficult for them. And then,
well done.
Going for the pit wall. Well, it's got some speed there, isn't it? So Marshall's doing a mega job wherever we go in the world, but those Valencia ones have certainly earned their breakfast on this early Sunday morning.
Yeah, coffee's all round for them, but not yet. We've got the rest of the race to go. We've got only about, more than 50 minutes remaining. And we're waiting for the restart, waiting for the signal when that will come, and then Mauro Calamia will control that. That's his car there. Waiting to see when he'll take off. He had a very good start to this race in his Maserati. Neil Montserrat will be going, okay, I've got my eye on you. And Stefan Racina, he's a tough nut. He will be invigorated after his clear dehydration yesterday, and you can be sure he'll be wanting to attack. He's in the red, white and blue Lamborghini, third in that line, entered by Mechanic Motorsport, but also Philippe Pret tucked in behind, leading the AM class, but won the race outright in the number 1 Maserati yesterday afternoon. He's shown he's got the pace. We may well see that first 4 cars get clear. Remember, before the safety car period, the first 5 cars were slightly clear of Rokos, of Piri, and the driver bringing up the rear, Oliver Freymuth. But it does mean the safety car brings everybody back to nose-to-tail formation. Formation that offers another chance. I quite fancy Philippe Pret making a bit of a pounce.
Yeah, this is good news for Philippe Pret, because all the pros in at the moment are null and void. They're not going any quicker, funnily enough, behind the safety car, which is coming in at the end of this lap. So he will now be a bit more confident as the lights go off on the safety car to signal to the Maserati behind the Maserati. Safety car, Calamia, you are now in control. So he will hold a constant pace. He will get a gap to that safety car before he drops the hammer. He will need to back off a bit more than this at the moment if he's going to try and get a decent restart. He can't cross the safety car 1 line before the safety car, and now he's got a nice gap as we get ready for this restart.
You almost sense that Neil Montserrat's slightly hampering himself by getting too close, and then the Maserati, the throttle is floored. Through the final corner they go, staying within the confines of the circuit. But I think Neil Montserrat was playing a guessing game. It's so hard when you're the second driver. But he's a good toe down the start-finish straight. Surely not close enough to make a move into the first corner. Perhaps up the hill into the second. So tidy from Mauro Calamia. Of course, he had the advantage of starting at the head of this line. But Neil Montserrat did it well. I thought he was going to trip himself up slightly by just having to back off, getting too close into turn 14 to the race-leading Maserati. However, he got it spot on. And there's Mato Homola. There is the face of dejection and disappointment. We don't know yet what the problem was. He may not, but anyhow, he does know 0 points today.
See Racina sending it in sideways. That was the story yesterday. Frame the same in the other Lamborghini, and it just seems like the rear of that Lambo isn't stable. And this is at the best point for the tyre. This is at its freshest moment. There's no tyre changes allowed in the pit stop, so it seems to adjust the pressures, but that's it. And Pret still looking racy over the back of that Pro-Am car.
Possible problem for Oliver Freymuth. He lost about 3.5 seconds on that restart lap. He should have been on the tail of Luca Piri or thereabouts, but going slightly slowly in the AKF Motorsport Lamborghini. Maybe he was caught napping on the restart. Maybe he hadn't been told the safety car was pulling off the end of that lap. He's lost a little bit of ground. We'll see if it's a problem and he drops away further, or simply he just wasn't hooked up, ready to get going. But certainly Philippe Pret was. He's right on the tail of Stefan Rosina. Here's Andre Rocoche, second in the AM class. Then Luca Piri's on his tail. Then there's that bit of a gap. This is the tussle of the race right now. This is yesterday's race-winning Maserati. Looking at the rear of it, it's number 1. Another red, white, and blue Italian car in front. It's the Lamborghini of Stefan Rosina. They are 4th and 3rd, respectively, but they are slightly losing ground to Calamia and Montserrat. The Maserati Mercedes duo. Philippe Pret looking up the inside, Is there an inside? Well, down into turn 1, he makes it work.
What a move. And the Maserati, a good straight line speed, aided by the slipstream, but he sent it. And again, the body language of the car, as you could see, they were as hard as they could on the brakes. And that was a very efficient way to dispose of Rosina. And now what can he do about the pace of Montserrat and Calamia in front? But Philippe Pret here, giving him a chance to get another overall race victory. Yes, he has the maximum pit stop time, so that has to be accounted for. But he was quicker than the second drivers of both Montserrat, who will hand over to De Martin, and Calamia, who will hand over to Pampanini. So this, at the moment, is looking good for Philippe Pret.
Certainly is. So just to reiterate, of course, in the Pro-Am class, the Pro starts first. Philippe's running in the Am class, running solo, but it does mean that safety car period gobbled up. It consumed some of the period where the pros could have been stretching their legs and possibly having an advantage over him. But as we saw just before the safety car came out, that to clear up Mato Homola's KTM, that Philippe could match the pros or thereabouts. So certainly any of the potential advantage the Pro-Am crews have, a little bit of that has been clawed back by Philippe Pret. But having got past Stefan Rosina into 30, he's already dropping him by his best part of a second clear as you look at this fantastic drone shot down towards turn 14, the final corner. Who's exceeding track limits? Well, actually nobody at the moment. So neat and tidy up front. Better lap from Mauro Calamia. He was under attack from Neil Montserrat. This lap, it looks so he's opened it out a little bit. Yeah, another 4/10 of a second gain. But Montserrat looking pretty good in the NM Racing Team Mercedes down into the first turn. But definitely that was a decisive move by Philippe Pret last time round. Into second, looking comfortable. And I would suggest this lap will be setting off once he's settled down after Neil Montserrat.
Yeah, he only lost 4/10 on the last lap with the overtake on Rosina. So I think you're right, Bruce. I think now he's got some clear road. We'll keep an eye on the sector times. Luca Piri here, 3rd in the AM class at the moment. This Audi is beautiful, isn't it? It sounds phenomenal. Similar engine into what's in the back of the Lamborghini. Here's the overtake. So yes, we're gaining, but then the send to the inside and watch the cars dive under braking. And it was good driving from Rosina to allow the space, but that was perfectly judged by both cars involved in that move.
Yeah, it was. The Maserati looked surprisingly nimble through the first corner. It didn't seem to be locked up or anything, but I think you're quite right on reviewing the situation in the replay. Certainly, Stefan Rosina didn't make it too difficult. He knows it's not worth having a clash. He's leading the Pro-Am Championship, so there's no point squandering that, just trying to block off someone who's got a good toe on you down the start finish straight into that tight first corner. But certainly having moved ahead of Rosina's Lamborghini, Philippe Pret is absolutely flying this lap. Interesting to see, can he begin to close on the second place Mercedes of Neil Montserrat? Neil in turn, is he losing ground? Yeah, he's lost about another 1/4 of a second on the race leading gold and black Maserati. They go down the start finish straight one more time. The gap goes out 1.5 seconds now. Little by little, Mauro Calamia getting away.
Yeah, and Montserrat's still quicker than Pret behind. Pret's done 2 track limits as well. 6 would attract a 5-second penalty. So to use up a third of those already is maybe showing Pret is pushing too hard. And I'm sure Stefan Ortelli, his coach back in the garage of LP Racing, will be just telling them no more track limits for a while. Let's save them up till the end of this race where you might need them to overtake for possible overall victory.
Yeah, what I fancied was Philippe Pret might catch those in front. You're quite right, Joe. The last lap and the one before he lost ground. The previous one, of course, he had been out of position going to turn 1. That would be a compromise. I thought this last lap that Philippe Pret would close on Neil Montserrat, but it's not happening as yet. In fact, each sector we get to, Neil Montserrat there, you can see his car number 115, his Mercedes, actually stretching its legs and pulling clear of yesterday's race winner.
Yeah, doing a good job as well. The car riding the curb so well, this 115 Mercedes GT2, and I've driven one of these Mercedes before, and it's like an old school muscle car. Too much power to too little grip, which is the perfect recipe for any Formula GT2. Trying to harness that, we've said it before, but Ginetta joining next year, I think will really strengthen this grid. We saw a similar story in GT4 way back when in 2008 this series was created. It struggled to start with. Manufacturers then started to understand the concept, started to support it, and then suddenly you look at European GT4. We've had over 50 cars on a European GT4 grid before, so expect the same story for GT2 in the future. Alex Le Gouy working hard in the pit lane as ever, reports that the KTM team RTR Projects, who run this Mercedes, by the way, are just saying an engine issue at the moment. Unsure, but an engine issue has ruled them out today.
Yeah, things not always obvious. Right, it's ebbing and flowing, but I mean literally dealing in fractions of a second. Luca Piri gets marginally closer to the Mercedes of Andre Rocoche. They're fighting over 5th place, but thus far he can do nothing. Don't forget, the second part of the race, Petra Lisa will take over the RTR Projects Mercedes and will go a little bit faster. So we'll see how that one shapes out. But Luca Piri, as I said yesterday, he got stronger and stronger through the course of the race, and came home with the season best 4th place. He had planned to be competing with Stefan Rattel, the man who puts the whole show on the road, but Stefan couldn't get here this weekend and probably be kicking himself. This would be a fun circuit to race on, but Luca looked, very fit come the end of the race, and certainly that Audi is a very potent package indeed.
Certainly is, and Stefan Rattel already racing this car early in the year, of course, and it was great to get him aboard the car so he can see the product he's selling to his customers, and he sure is going to support that all the way through. Piri now flashing his headlights, just trying to distract the Mercedes in front, trying to get the Mercedes driver just to look in the mirror at the run point. Rocoche at the moment seems to have his focus forward exactly where it needs to be, but Piri definitely has the pace at the moment in these 2 cars.
Well, this is a story in the early stages of yesterday's race, and he did get bottled up. Eventually, he started being able to make moves, but that was the second half of the race. Right, down the hill they come to complete another lap. Rocoche still in front, just half a second or so clear of Luca Piri. 5th and 6th. Oliver Frameth has fallen the best part of 10 seconds further back in his AKF Motorsport Lamborghini. So he lost most of those actually on the first lap after the restart, but certainly not pressing on in the way he might have hoped for this morning. But someone who's doing that, but just small incremental gains, is our race leader, Mauro Calamia. His Maserati now 2 seconds clear. Talking of Mauro Calamia, this is how hard he's pushing as we look at this replay. Super slow-mo, mounting the curbs, but not too badly. We've certainly seen turn 12 attacked far more vigorously than that, but when you're smooth and calm, certainly helps your tyres through the course of a 1-hour race.
Yeah, an apex speed 150 kilometers an hour through turn 12, so the slow-mo making it look slow, but this is now at full speed, and suddenly you can see how quickly these drivers are having to make their decisions, where to brake, where to turn in, when to pick the throttle up, when to open the steering wheel to allow this car to speed up once more. And it's a fast rise, then fall through 13 into 14 here at the last corner. Track limits have been very prevalent at the last corner, and it's not too far until we might see some cars peeling right out the last corner into pit lane. The pit window will open in 7.5 minutes, although expect the Pro-Am cars to go longer into that 10-minute pit window to try and do as many laps as they can.
And it may well be that people have done the sums. They've worked out that some of their rivals have got time penalties to be served from success in yesterday's race, and their pit stops will be longer. So does it make it worth their while making a risky move to try and make an overtake, or are they just going to think, well, I'll see when they pit, they'll have a really quick few laps. Luca Pirelli did this yesterday, stayed out a really long time, and he put in some quick laps. He knew some of his rivals were going to be at the standstill for longer, and that sort of helped him move up the order. An eventual 4th place yesterday for him. But Andre Rokosh, he's got Petrolisa, who tends to be the quicker of this pairing, who's going to be doing the second part of this race. How much of a bite of the cake he gives him remains to be seen. But I think he'll be pitting towards the front end of the pit stop window. Yeah,
and will it be in front or behind this Luca Pirelli Audi? Luca Pirelli's been looking left and right, but this is the closest we've seen him just so far. It's a hard circuit to overtake at. Why? Because all the corners are at similar speed, so you can't really get a run into a lot of them, although Rokosh going in deep, but Pirelli follows him there. There's a lot of lunging overtakes, and that's why Philip Pret's overtake into turn 1 on Racina was even more impressive. And you can see Rokosh is actually starting to defend. That allows Pirelli to go around the outside. We saw this move done in GT3. I haven't seen it done in GT2 just yet, and Pirelli tucks in back behind.
Yeah, I think what we call this form from Pirelli, it's called unseating. He's trying his best to just keep more and more pressure on Andre Rokosh, make him just brake a little bit late for a corner, then dive down the gap as it opens up. Certainly many points that could happen. Into turn 8, for example, if someone goes, it's a double apex left-hander with a downhill run from the turn into the exit. That is a corner where someone gets in late. Now, just possibly hearing messages that the humidity, well, it's only at 70%, but just thought I heard mention them. We're hearing reports of rain, possibly the whole way around the circuit, but maybe up in the high ground around turn 8 and turn 2. But anyhow, we can't see. But you did mention before you came into the commentary box, Joe, that it was a bit muggy this morning. Yesterday was just hot. Well, that could be a factor. Maybe you stay out as long as you possibly can. Don't make the pit stops to delay your driver change or your mandatory pit stop as long as you can. It may just be a tiny little flurry, but it's a little factor.
Definitely is. Although Calamia's last Sector 1 was purple, so Sector 1 is definitely dry. Track temp nearly 30 degrees now, so any rain is actually going to evaporate pretty quickly. And until we start seeing any windscreen wipers, the track won't change grip level all that much. The drivers will be aware of it, and you're right. Maybe you go longer in the pit window just in case it was a heavy downburst, and you could then do your tyre change and your mandatory pit stop at once. No tyre changing allowed in this championship unless it is for wet weather tyres or vice versa. If it started wet, only fuel and tyre pressures with the driver change for the crews that need it, of course.
Well, Rocco, windscreen wiper, just seen it, a race leader, Mauro Calamia, coming down the start-finish straight, just one flick of the blade, chasing Neil Montserrat, nearly 5 seconds back. No, his wipers at a standstill, and they do listen to us, Joe. They're getting the wet weather tyres out, so you're quite right. We're way off needing those at the moment, but that was intriguing to see Mauro Calamia. So it may well be, it's just at the end of the lap. He was coming out of turn 14, down the start-finish straight, a quick flick. Nobody else caught on camera so far has shown that level of weakness to get the water off the screen. It clearly is very, very light rain, if at all.
Yeah, this car had a pretty steady last lap, though. 2 seconds off his best. The leader, for reference, was 9/10 off. So the track is changing. We're not seeing exactly where. We're starting to see potentially drivers avoiding exit curbs as the painted surface gets a bit of moisture. That can get slippier. And actually, Philip Pret hasn't really dropped Racina, has he? Racina stayed within 2 seconds of him since that overtake was done 5 or 6 laps ago now.
Yeah, well, just maybe today the Lamborghini will handle it a little bit better. It's not as hot, and definitely in the heat of yesterday afternoon when it was running at about 33, up to 33 degrees. That was very warm indeed, and the Lamborghini seemed to be the one whose handling dropped away the most, but it has been pushed on very well indeed. And I really did think that Philippe Pret would be able to go off after Neil Montserrat, but Montserrat, although he's nearly 5 seconds, now is 5 and a bit seconds down on Mauro Calamia after, as you pointed out, a slightly steadier previous lap. Philippe Pret is not catching. Look, he's a similar margin back in 3rd overall, and yet just 2 and a bit seconds ahead of Stefan Racina. So the initial progress, he made a second in the first. Oh, that is rain. Very handy having a lake just on the infield so you can see what's falling. So great camera shot there. That's just on the inside when you go down the left, sloping left-hander from turn 13 down to the final corner. So it's that end of the circuit, the end of the lap, where the little bit of moisture is falling.
Lap time's 4.2 seconds, 5 seconds off for our lead cars. The crossover point will be 12 seconds here at Valencia, so if they were 12 seconds off on these tyres, they should be on the wet. The problem is, if the rain then just stops, it's not worth it. So I think everyone is going to have to grin and bear it at the moment. The other strategy teams will go is, you've just got to stay out, because someone will go off, and that will cause a safety car or a full course yellow. As long as it's not you, you've got to stay out. You cannot afford to add an extra pit stop for a tyre change in such a short 1 hour sprint race.
What we can't see, Joe, is whether the rain is all around the circuit. We now know for sure it's somewhere at the end of the lap, turns 13 and 14, but it's just looking a little slick. And now, for the first time for Mauro Calamia, our race leader, he's got his windscreen wiper on full time, so it must be the whole way around the lap. First there was that tentative flick on the start-finish straight, but now as he works his way around the circuit, turns 11 and 12, middle point of the lap, he's full on the windscreen wiper.
That's the bit you don't want to be on. I said about the curves being wet. You see the spray coming out. There must be a huge rainbow somewhere, because look at the shadow still being cast. So it's not dark and gloomy by any stretch of the imagination, but this rain, the humidity we touched on, has definitely now started to put a fair amount of moisture on. Look at the spray starting to be kicked up. His fastest lap of the race so far has been a 1:34.0 for Calamia. The last lap around is going to be more like, 1:39.3. So the pace has seriously dropped off quickly, and they're going to be fighting for grip. Expect these cars to start having some big snaps of oversteer.
And what's so surprising, you mentioned the amount of sunlight. Yes, it's a cloudy day now, but it's fine weather cloud. It doesn't, there's patches of blue sky beyond. So I don't think this rain is going to last very long. But, easy for us to comment up here. Oh, well, maybe it's more slippery than you realise. Out of the final corner, that'll be a track limits warning for the driver in fourth place, Stefan Racina, just carrying speed that he couldn't check out over the curbing. And so it's far more slippery than we realise. But your point there, 5 and a bit seconds down on the ultimate pace from our race leader, Mauro Calamia. And with each lap, he continues to stretch his margin at the front of the race. 6 seconds clear of Neil Montserrat now.
Fastest lap, the best car on the last lap was Philip Pret, actually. So the bronze-graded driver happy in these mixed conditions. You can see some of the other tyres being readied there, and Rockosh still in front of Piri's Audi. The weather has changed the battle for Piri, it seems, because before this slight bit of rain, Piri looked like he was going to get past within a lap or two, but then suddenly it's gone back in Mercedes' favour.
I think it was Petrolisa getting ready for the driver change. The pit window is now open, but this is the point. The teams are going, did you remember to pack the meteorologist? Because they want to know how soon this little flurry of rain. In fact, is it still raining now, or are they slipping on what has fallen thus far? Very, very hard to pick it up on the camera. Mauro Calamia goes around to start another lap. He's not blinking. He's not coming in yet to hand it to Alberto Martin. So to Robert Pampanini, and Martin is not going to take over from Neil Montserrat yet. First and second go through. Now, this is the car that had a little slip and a slide. Stefan Racina, a lap or so ago. He's fallen nearly 5 seconds down off the driver of the third place car, just going out of our shot, our champion in the AM class for 2025. That's Philippe Pret, third overall, yesterday's outright winner, but continues to pull clear of Racina. And this is why suddenly the gap went from 4 seconds between them to 8. And that is where your options have become somewhat limited. Can you now get through the gravel trap? Where are you heading? In fact, what are you doing?
More of a historic Lamborghini tractor there, isn't it? Flying through the gravel trap at 12. Again, great slow-mo. Look at that rear tyre popping in the air, the deflection through that. And Stefan Racina would have felt that through all of his teeth as well. And I think he's just dropped it on the entry. We saw it in GT3 qualifying. We saw this car on that entry curve, the spray coming off. And suddenly the pace has gone back to relative normal, hasn't it? So it was a 2-3 lap compromise, but that would have been a huge amount of stress for everyone involved, drivers and engineers alike.
Yeah, I think a lot of the drivers who are going to take over in the second part of this race were just held back. They want to wait as long as they can now during this pit window. Umbrellas up. Yesterday were parasols. Today they're umbrellas for now, but I'm sure conditions will continue to change. Track humidity still 70%, so it's often rains when it's far higher than that. But Mauro Calamia, race leader, pulling ever further clear. He's going to a further lap, chased by Neil Montserrat. So he's keeping his teammate Alberto De Martin waiting a little bit longer. And Philippe Pret is definitely closing. That gap has come down quite a chunk. It was nearly 5 seconds between second and third, but I think it's probably down to about 3 seconds, just waiting for confirmation of that. Well, it's down to 4.5, but he certainly found a bit of time there.
I'm impressed by the locals knowing it was going to rain today. The amount of umbrellas in the stand. I've not even packed a jacket on this trip, so hopefully it does dissipate while we're sat in the commentary box. Rockus with the wipers on, and he's probably just clearing the last drops of the rain, but still very slippy under braking for turn 14. You can see the car's unable to hit the brakes as hard as potentially they would want.
Yeah, no, I spotted someone ready for that commercial opportunity. Had a stand full of umbrellas, 20 euros or 30 if raining. Always works. Right, now Andre Roccos has had a really good race here, just resisting the whole time the efforts of Luca Pirri, the Audi driver, pushing, probing, but just not finding a way past the Mercedes. Looking very well balanced, but who's going to blink first? Who's going to come in and make a pit stop? That's for the only driver not going from the 8 that started was Mata Hommler. Then a mistake. It suddenly came. It looked all under control for Andre Roccos, and I just didn't see him not turning into the corner. He just went very, very deep indeed. And Luca Pirri clearly had his antennae very much tuned into what was happening, and he pounced. So suddenly, 6th has become 5th.
Saw the gap and took it, didn't he? Did really well. It's so easy as the following driver in a battle just to follow the wheel tracks of the car in front, but his vision up early, looking into the corner, saw the gap for his Audi GT2 R8 and put the car there, and is now starting to pull away. And Neil Mosrat goes for another lap. Could see the pit entry there was almost magnetising him. And same for Philip Pret, he goes for another one. And still 6 minutes remaining of the pit window. Look at the amount of marbles on the pit straight, so drivers are going to have to be aware of that. Racina stays out as well. Luca Pirri being a sole driver, he might want to come in early, but now he's got the space in front, now he's cleared Roccas. I think he will go long. I'm surprised we haven't seen Roccas box yet. He would be my first car I'd suspect to be in the 294 Mercedes behind this 88.
Yeah, he's lost a place on the track to Luca Pirri, who's pounced and is pulling clear. Maybe it was just that one mistake. Increasingly look as though it's brightening up again, just seeing the sun in the driver's eyes as they work their way around the circuit. And Roccos is listening. In he comes. Petrolisa already saw him standing in the pit lane. Get that speed off. There's the white line coming up, by which time there we are, hopefully below the pit lane mandatory speed limit. So RCR Projects, just the one car left in the race after the retirement from Mata Hommler at the end of the opening lap, after Mata had gained a place from 4th to 3rd, running up to turn 2, got the job done, and then by the end of the lap was pulling off. But right now, all focus of that team is on this car, the Mercedes. So Andre Roccos, he had a good race there, just one little slip up, and that allowed Luca Pirri's Audi to go through. And unfortunately, we have a Parker, and it's our race leader, Mauro Calamia. He was just getting his lap times back down again. They went away by 5 seconds in the flurry of rain, and very possibly just before he was about to come in, and he's parked the car. Oh, dearie me, frustration. He's not going to be able to reverse out of that. Can't see how he went in. Oh, dear. Going deeper, deeper all the time. So huge disappointment. So for Roberto Pampanini, he may not yet get to take part in the race. And turn 12, it's been the bogey corner all weekend long. And that was just absolutely no turning in at all. He didn't spin it, as we saw this morning, but a deep, deep run through the gravel. And out of our sight almost entirely, standing up in the commentary box to try and find it, but in and sideways through the gravel chap, and almost trying to hide from the cameras there, but a slip up, that was a costly one. Pit window is open, but it would be of no avail to this car, one feels at the moment. So Roberto Pampanini probably thinking, next few laps I will be getting a chance to get in the car, and suddenly this race has turned on its head. Suddenly Philippe Pret into the lead of the race. Into second place behind Neil Montserrat, beg your pardon, 7.5 seconds between them, but sitting on a lead that was going out all the time, little by little. It was about 7 seconds, and then one slip up was all it took. But looking at the replays, just no turning at all for Mauro Calamia, too deep into turn 12, and maybe it touched the curb. I'd like to see it all over again and see if he did, but just straight on into turn 12, deep into the gravel.
Yeah, it's going to be that wet entry curb where Montserrat is about approaching here. The cars swing out. You can see the rubber laid down, and I think that's just stayed slippery. And as he's gone to turn in, the car's snapped oversteer to his left, and he's just careered all the way through the gravel trap and touched the wall as well. So a huge amount of energy there as Roccos has now handed over this car to Petrolisa, who was in very good form yesterday, so he'll want to get up to speed quickly. No safety car just yet, or full course yellow. Race director probably looking to get all the pit stops out the way before we were to have a neutralisation.
Oh, the dejection for Mauro Calamia. He had a really good race in the second part of yesterday's 1-hour extravaganza, but parked up, not in the way he wanted to do. So suddenly for Neil Montserrat, He's come in from the lead of the race. This changes the complexion entirely. We're past the halfway point in this 1 hour race, the GT2 European Series, and someone who may have been looking victory in the eye potentially today is going away with disappointment writ large. And, you know, not much you can say after that. 1 race victory so far this year, a host of second places for Roberto Pampanini and Mauro Calamia. But today it's a null, it's a nothing, it's a 0.
Yeah, calamity for Calamia there, and it's going to be difficult for him to explain that one back at base, leading the race, and a simple mistake with big consequence. Absolutely
so. So LP Racing have got their yesterday's race-winning Maserati in the pits, and by dint of not having the best of races yesterday, it means a shorter pit stop this time around for Stefan Racina to hand over to Bronek Formanek. So the Michenek Motorsport Lamborghini back into the race. The clock will tick and tick a little bit more for the NM Racing Team Mercedes, and then Alberto Martin will take it back out. Messages there from Stefan Ortelli to Philippe Pret. What are you saying? I touch my nose, you be cautious, but definitely he wants that message across. Philippe, of course, has the advantage. He was out in this race beforehand, so he knows what the track conditions are like. He'll gauge how they're changing. It was becoming a little less wet. Lap times, remember, after that flurry of rain, fell by about 5 seconds. And now, hopefully, it will speed up all over again. AKF Motorsport Lamborghini, out it comes from the pit. So Oliver Framus, one of 3 solo drivers. Job done for him.
I suppose that Stefan Ortelli doesn't have a headset, a radio headset, to be able to talk, and the hand signal's obvious what he meant, but the words might be easier for Philippe Pret to understand some hand signals halfway through the race. We look at Formanek on his way, on his outlap. Car controller telling that Philippe Pret, the pit lane is clear, so once your pit lane timer hits 0, you will be released. Minimum pit stop time, of course, has to be adhered to. As soon as you go under, you do attract a penalty. And you can see DeMartin there onto a clear bit of track, and this is the gap that Philippe Pret will have to try and bring back. Of course, he was in great form, but 14 seconds added to his pit stop means that's why the gap is so large. And here's the battle between himself and now Bronek Formanek, who pitted that lap before, and it looks like the momentum of Formanek here will sweep him through, but it's going to be tight on pit exit. Pret can't cross the white line. He needs to get back up to speed as quickly as he can against Formanek. Can Formanek do anything? No. It's a great exit out of pit lane for that Maserati.
But the temptation for Philippe Pret to go a little hot up into turn 2 just to defend that position would have been mighty, but he had the control, and that's the advantage of having done the first half of the race. He could vaguely remember what the circuit conditions were like. It was Bronek Formanek hitting there the first time in his race, coming out, taking over from Stefan Racina. He's right on his tail, which is pretty much as they were before the pit stops, except that gap had extended. A couple of mistakes from Stefan Racina running wide, dropped him to about 7 seconds back, but the longer pit stop for Philippe Pret meant that gap closed right down. But importantly for Philippe, the Monegasque racer, it kept him just in front when he emerged from his pit stop.
Luca Piri starting his second stint, did the first one as well, so easier for these drivers to get up to speed, of course, but we did see potentially a bit of fatigue setting in the last 10 minutes. Philippe Pret going a bit deep there, and now the safety car. Now the pit stops have all been done, we will get a safety car. This is music to Philippe Pret's ears. He's had 2 safety cars in this race. The first one kept him close. You can see the Maserati against the wall in the background there as the Maserati safety car makes his way out. So now the battle is between Pret and DeMartin. That gap was well over 25 seconds, and that will become 0 after the safety car.
It's Sunday morning, let's talk maths, Joe. I know you love to talk about maths, but let's make it simple. There are 50 points on offer at each of the rounds. That accident, that slide off the circuit from Mauro Calamia, means the title is going to be clinched today if nothing further untoward happens to the Michenek Motorsport Lamborghini. It's sitting on a 53-point margin, and, well, there it is. So hold on a second. Mauro Calamia off at the side of the circuit at the moment. That's a 38-point margin, but we will wait and go through to the end of the race. I'm just reading one thing, being told another. Anyhow, carry on as we were, but certainly that has been a stumble. That would be an expensive mistake. So right now we may readjust that But that is with Montserrat still, not Montserrat, with Pampanini and Calami are still listed as going through to the points for third place. But they won't be getting those because that car is stuck, well, unless it gets recovered and they're close enough to go to the end of the race. But without the 15 points for third, I think it swings it the other way.
Hard one. If they get going and they've got to do the driver change, they're going to do their driver change outside the pit window, which would attract a penalty. Some rather force majeure would be pleaded, I'm sure, but potentially an interesting one if that Maserati number 7 car gets going again.
That was the voice of Joe Osborne, the messenger of doom and despair.
I didn't have to say it with a smile on my face, I guess, did I?
So, pit window will be a closing. And the safety car leading the field around, so it's picked up Alberto De Martin in the lead of the race, 20 laps complete. But just bear in mind that, of course, the cars behind in the safety car crew can close and close and close some more. They get on the tail of Alberto De Martin, and then he'll be the driver that controls the restart. 21 and a bit minutes remain in this race. Philippe Pret, second, leading the AM class. Waved yellow flags, of course, during the safety car period for the drivers. Message held out to them, but for those at the front of the field, they don't need the message. They can see the safety car. But until this car, the number 7 Dynamic Motorsports Maserati is pulled back onto the circuit, not listed as retirement as yet, but obviously losing ground all the time. Not as much as it would do if we were under full green racing circumstances, but the conditions are not. We've got the safety car leading the field around. So still the Maserati leads this race, but this time it's the Maserati safety car. There is a Maserati in the mix. It's Philippe Pret in second position, third position this line. He is the leading AM driver. He is the leading champion. He's the champion for the second year running in AM, and now he must be thinking, hey, I quite enjoyed outright victory yesterday. Let's see if I can do it all over again today. So he's going to have probably around 18 minutes, maybe slightly more, of green flag running through to the end of this race. Can he get the jump on Alberto De Martin? And you'd have to feel he possibly could, because his form has been exceptionally strong through the second part of this season, Philippe Pret.
Yeah, I'm just reading up on the regulations for GT2. So entries are required to complete 75% of the winning car's distance in order to be classified and earn points. So we now need to work out how many laps do you think we're going to do. It's going to be hard to know until the safety car comes in. We've got 20 minutes remaining. Clamia is already 4 laps down, and that car looks like it's done, doesn't it? It's getting towed away from the circuit. Clamia got out of the car as well, and he might have been well versed to stay in the car potentially if he could have restarted. We don't know what damage was on that car, so that's what we need to do. Clamia needs to have done 75% of the distance to keep the championship going to Barcelona between him and the 11 of Forminac.
Okay, let's throw, let's pretend there's no further rain, so they can lap at close to their best lap pace. We're looking at, what, 11 or 12 laps that they complete if the safety car comes in very shortly. They may not get the chance to do that. There may be fewer, and that will certainly affect the 75% figure.
Safety car staying out for another lap, and the last safety car lap was 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So we're looking like we could restart maybe with 17 minutes remaining, and that would then give us around, I think we'd squeeze 11 laps in, like you said, Bruce.
Well, we've got a sliding scale. We'll have to keep on top of that. What we can tell you is that Alberto De Martin is leading the race in the NM Racing Mercedes, and then in behind Philippe Pret. Third in the line, Broniek Formignac in his Lamborghini. Then the second of the Mercedes, that's Petrolisa. There he is, the red and black Mercedes, and tucked in behind Luca Piri, who just doesn't seem to get the brakes. He's got plenty of pace in the LP Racing Audi, but he always seems to be bottled up behind a rival, and for a lot of this race, it's been the RTR Projects Mercedes. 6th, Oliver Freymuth. Mauro Calamia still in the race, but he's lost a few laps there. He is 5 laps down after that tiny mishap with the giant consequences. Looked so he was about to come in from the lead of the race to hand over to his teammate Roberto Pampanini. Alas, though, pressing on, just the track was beginning to dry a little bit. The lap pace with the flurry of rain fell away by about 5 seconds. He'd suddenly brought it back down, so it was only 3 seconds over the ultimate pace. Things were going better, and he was probably dreaming about that hot lap into the pits and just nailing and finding another second or so by getting a brilliant run into the pits. Alas, he did not get to do that. Just towed away from the exit of turn 12. I was just leaning to see where the car has ended up, but At the moment, we are still behind the safety car, but the lights are out. The safety car will be in at the end of this lap, so that's what Alberto de Martin will have to see in his gunmetal Mercedes from the NM Racing team. There it is. Looking, I rather like that livery, actually, I must say. And then tucked in behind, Philippe Pret, top AM racer, this year's champion, last year's champion in AM, and he will fancy making it a double here at Valencia. He now can see, the team will have told him, the safety car peels off, and this is a chance for him to make a jump, but it looks like a very good restart from the NM Racing team Mercedes. Gained half a second or so, and maybe that's enough to protect himself. But Petrolese is taking a look at the Lamborghini to see if he can go to third place. Does it with ease. Around the size of Broniak-Formignac he goes. That was good anticipation. And then he runs very wide at turn one, so there could be a penalty for that. And Luca Piri looking as though he wants to get up the inside too, not quite close enough to pass the Lamborghini at the top of the hill. And for a lot of these drivers, they came out onto circuit after their pit stops that was slightly damp, and they're still trying to assess it, because immediately, pretty much, they had to drop down behind the safety car. Now they're going to start building up, and now we're starting to see Philippe Pret on the attack. And Petrolese is all over his tail. So having had the restart in fourth place, deposed Broniak-Formignac, and as Philippe Pret is pushing, trying to unseat our race leader, de Martin, I am beginning to think we might see Petrolese take the lead of this race. He's absolutely going it for at the moment. So Mercedes first and third, almost first and second just there.
What a good shot here, and Pret's got the lead. If he can get it stopped, he's going in deep. He's trying to open up the steering, get on the throttle, move done. Petrolese looking to the inside. De Martin closing the door on him. Lisa here has to get the move done quickly on the other Mercedes, and again Pret goes in deep. He's overdriving this, but he's getting away with it at the moment. But if he keeps going in this deep, is he going to start going off the line, getting marbles and then losing time? Petrolese on the flashes needs to clear this 115 Mercedes as quick as he can.
Well, the important thing there, having got to the front, put a smile on the face of his driver coach, Stefano Ortelli. Didn't overcook it into turn 12. That was the corner that cost Mara Calamia the race. Probably the trickiest corner on the circuit. Out of turn 14, the final corner now, it's going to be a swap, possibly. Certainly the lights are being flashed in the Mercedes battle for second place. Petrolese are tucked in behind Alberto de Martin, but our race leader, Philippe Pret, is clear by 2 seconds on the nose. That was good, but he really went to the very edge of the circuit, the edge of the grip, provided by that fantastic move early in the lap. Really counted for an awful lot there, but the following Mercedes battle is going to be his friend, because as Petrolese is delayed by Alberto de Martin, not quite past him, with every corner that he can run at his own pace at the front, Philippe Pret will be pulling clear. So is he heading for 2 wins in 2 days? He bagged the AM title yesterday for the second year running, but the victory today, for the rest of the season, he can just go all out for victories. That's what he wants now. Maybe that's going to be what he gets. Luca Piri starting to close in the background.
Yeah, at the moment, I think Lisa's just kind of looking left and right too often. It's like that little Jack Russell on the lead, isn't he? He's kind of everywhere in your face, but he just needs to save up for one big attack. And de Martin is doing a phenomenal job of just closing off these corner entries, blocking the inside route. But this is starting to get a bit battly behind him. As you said, Piri is getting there. Freymuth is also catching here, so this could be a 4-car battle before too long.
Extraordinary how it changes. There was one little block, if you like, between the run between turn 8 and 9, and that was the point at which we just had the lead taken by Philippe Pret. And the frustration for Petrolese, he probably lost a second or two in the next couple of corners. At that point, Philippe Pret's clear. Top of our screen, there's Pret going around the final corner, just under the graphic, and he started this lap 2 seconds clear. He's already gained double that, and he hasn't even got to the end of the lap. So this is going to be frustrating. Second, third, fourth, and fifth coming across the line, and Oliver Freymuth has really come into the mix. Remember, early in the race he was a little bit out of sorts, or maybe he simply was being cautious, saving his tyres. But right now, and of course, he's back in the hunt. He had a far shorter pit stop than his rivals, but he's sticking with them, and they're pressing really hard. Freymuth at the back of the pack is suddenly reinvigorated. Petrolese just, well, as you said, maybe fewer moves, but that one very, very nearly worked for him. But again, he's at the bogey part of the circuit. Up to turn 1 they go, down the slope they fall.
The chance of contact seems to be getting higher as the frustrations build upon this 294 Mercedes, and look close into turn 2, the last 2 laps. And now Piri has a strong move here. Both cars strong in a straight line. They're pretty equal balance performance-wise, how they generate their lap time, the Audi and the Mercedes. But now, suddenly, de Martin has a bit of breathing space as Petrolese is having to look slightly behind at Luca Piri.
He's looking left, looking right, but Luca Piri, well, he spent most of yesterday's race tucked in behind other cars, had the pace, and only late on did he manage to find the space to gain positions. Could be a similar story today, but the clock counting down. We've just got over 12 and a bit minutes remaining in this race, but it could be this is the finishing order, because certainly so far Alberto De Martini is being very staunch in his defence. He's helped by Luca Piri attacking Petrolisa, and in between, well, who's going to pass who? No one knows for sure, but certainly very, very tight. Oliver Freymuth really enjoying this scrap, because he doesn't take part in all of the championship rounds, but certainly that AKF Motorsport car, having missed the races at Misano in the searing heat of Misano, took a 7th place yesterday, but looking to improve on that today. His best finish is a class-winning, AM-class-winning 5th place overall. He's running 5th today, so this could be a good run, and then, of course, give him some big hope as they head to Barcelona for the final round in a couple of weekends' time.
Yeah, De Martin slightly narrow on the entry to 1. That will give a bit more speed to the cars behind, but De Martin has started to pick the pace up. He has now done his fastest lap of the race, and you can see on your timing tower, the Clamia car is now blanked out, so that is not a finisher, so this would be championship for the 11 car.
Right, there could be a disaster for Bronick, Formanak and Stefan Rossino at the next round, but there are only 52 points on offer, so if it finishes as it is, they've got a 53-point advantage. So by the skin of their teeth, but also by the form of their season, it looks as though that Pro-Am battle is sorted with 1 round to go. 2 more races at Barcelona, but for Bronick, Formanak and Stefan Rossino, this has been quite a tough meeting. They got put to the back of the grid yesterday and had to fight their way up the order. Today's been a little bit simpler, but at the moment they are running last on the track, but that's because they've done the maths as well. There were a couple of leery moments in the first part of the race for them, but Bronick Formanak settling down. He was in this battle, but he slid away by some enormous margin, actually.
Lost 21 seconds on the last lap, so he's had a big moment. We saw a moment for Rossina earlier on, that 11 car. Hopefully not a major issue, but at the moment somewhere in sector 1, but it's not circulating quickly at all, as we still have 10 minutes remaining of this race. Philip Pret, interestingly, moving off the line onto all the dirty part of the track. That isn't where I would want to be, and suddenly Piri is the man that's closest in this 4-car battle, and really Petrolisa hasn't been close enough to De Martin on the last 2 laps now to make a move, so as he worked his tyres too hard, Bronick Formanak still circulating, but very slowly. Very slowly.
No sooner do we talk through the graphic and say there are 50, he's got 53-point advantage if he finishes where he is, only needs 52 to take the title. And something very amiss, I fear, for Mikkelnik Motorsport. Maybe it was just recovery from a moment, just waiting to see the next timing sectors come through, but they've been slow laps. First timing sector lost another 12 seconds. I think there might have been a spin following one, possibly on the previous lap when, running about 20 plus seconds off the pace. Anyhow, this battle for second place, still Alberto De Martin doing a brilliant job tucking in to lead that Mercedes battle with Petrolisa getting closer, but no closer than he was before. He's had a few lunges about 2 or 3 laps ago, but right now, no change being offered to him, and Luca Piri in the Audi tucked in behind. He may yet find a way past Lisa, because there's going to be a moment, surely, where Lisa's going to make a move, and he's going to find himself on the wrong line.
Yeah, Formanak is super slow, but he only has to complete 70% of the race to be a classified finisher, and he's already at that point, I think, as Petrolisa is having to defend super hard from Piri here. Piri will want to get this move done, because this potentially is for second place overall as well, so this is where the battle is going.
Meanwhile, as they say, nearly 10 seconds clear. No, now 10 seconds clear. This battle for second place is delaying all of the drivers. Alberto De Martin defending all the time, like it was about 5 or 6 laps ago. Lights are flashing from the second of those Mercedes, Petrolisa. And all along, Oliver Freymuth is closing into the background, taking a treble toe effectively down the start-finish straight. Look to the inside, go to the outside. Looking back to the inside as they come up the hill, will go Petrolisa. Was a contact there, very, very close indeed. Alberto De Martin blocks it off. Now almost a moment for Luca Piri to dive up the inside to try and take third place, but maybe the consequences would be too great. Good exit for him at turn 2. Lisa's on the outside line. Are we going to have a change for third position? Oh, maybe, not quite.
No, and Petrolisa so close to Martin, gives him the space. And I think in all of that heat, the indicator has come on for Petrolisa. He's done well to cancel that quickly, but this is still raging on. De Martin has been hard but fair. Now Lisa looks to the inside. This contact here looks inevitable at some point.
Yeah, you constantly feel there's going to be one little slip up. Petrolisa having a move blocked, and Luca Piri in the Audi will attack. He will certainly be looking for that gap. And yesterday, when one finally came his way, Piri was very, very decisive indeed. And in the background, holding on because they're fighting so hard, is Oliver Frameth in the black AKF Motorsport Lamborghini. Race leader now 13, nearly 14 seconds clear of this battle. This is second, third, fourth and fifth, but escaping up the road, possibly for a double victory in the two races here in Valencia, is Philippe Pret. No pressure on him.
Yeah, on the next part of the lap, they're going to come across the ailing Formanak, who is literally at limping pace. So that could be something to keep an eye out for. There's obviously something amiss with that Lamborghini, but they're just getting to the end to secure the championship. But these four drivers will have to be aware of that Lamborghini moving slowly. You can see it in the distance there down the pit straight.
Yeah, limping around. That is the last three laps for this Lamborghini been 2 minutes, 2 minutes 4, and now 2 minutes 9. They could not quite walk around faster, but that is so far off the natural pace. What is amiss? We can't tell from the outside. It'd be really quite interesting to find out if the pit garage knows. Is that about to retire?
I think he's just doing a mega job of getting out the way. Yeah,
well, he certainly is, but he's running at the pace that we saw from Mato Homolo when he pulled off the circuit. And that was retiring at the end of the opening lap. Up the hill they go to turn 2. Alberto de Martin is going to relive this time over time because every single corner he's under so much pressure from Petrolisa. He's got to do another 7 minutes or so at the front of this train. Pressure is intense.
He's going to wake up tomorrow morning, look over his right shoulder and expect to see Petrolisa instead of his wife, I'm sure, in bed. And this is going to be an amazing defence if he can keep it up for another 6.5 minutes.
Is there another trick in the book for Petrolisa? I'm beginning to think not, because I think he's been blocked at every single corner he's tried to make a move. Can Luca Piri pounce from behind? He's definitely very, very close. If a gap opens up, he's going to put the Audi up into that hole. Fantastic drone shots as we work around this circuit. Another alteration of line there from Luca Piri. Is there going to be a space on the outside? Well, he has to try it, Doesn't make it stick, and for once, actually, Alberto de Martin just gets a little bit of breathing space there, but this track continues to cut back on itself, make it so tricky for the drivers, but you don't overtake into turn 12. They've got through that. Arcing left over the crest of the hill at turn 13, down to this final corner. Quite a few drivers getting warned for track limits there. It's going to be a possible problem. Only got just under 6 minutes remaining, still plenty of chances for offences there. And you get warnings to a certain point, and then you start getting punishment.
Yeah, the worst offender so far is Petrolisa, who's used 2 of the 6 lives up, so okay at the moment, but they will start to evaporate. The car's pushing hard. You can see them diving under braking. This has been the best opportunity for Petrolisa, but de Martin just does the same thing, and I think we've got to try something different. Like you said, Bruce, Petrolisa trying the outside here. It's a long way round. That's going to give it to Piri. I think Piri's done them both here, and he's taken second place. What a move, and still Petrolisa side by side with de Martin, who finally gets the job done. And de Martin, after putting up a great job, has lost two places in 2 corners.
Well, it was always going to be one slip would upset someone in this group. Unfortunately, it was Alberto de Martin. So much pressure from Petrolisa, but they both went super deep. Let's take a look at the replay. Joe, talk us through this one.
So de Martin here is just worried about Petrolisa. He's thinking, I'm just going to keep him out wide. Piri then cuts back to the inside and gets phenomenal traction in the Audi and sweeps past both, and that was relatively easy for him. The battle raging on. Petrolisa finally deciding, I'm going to send it down the inside rather aggressively but fairly to claim the place. So Petrolisa hasn't gained a place, he's gained 1 and lost 1, so he's in the same position, and Luca Piri the big winner there.
Yeah, coming out of turn 8, it was almost like there was no acceleration for Alberto de Martin. He just couldn't get the power down, and already on a better line, having seen where his rivals were placed. A pounce there from Luca Piri, suddenly up into second place overall, but way down on this driver. Philippe Pret running in almost a different race to everyone else. He's off the start-finish straight, or just approaching turn 1, and now he's gone through turn 1. As his rivals are just coming out of the final corner. They probably can't even see him, but anyhow, there's no way they're going to catch him. 17.5 seconds clear. Wow. Yeah, the shirts are out, and despite their car running around at 2-minute pace, 2-minute 10 pace, will it get to the finish? Anyhow, that might be the first and last time you see the Pro-Am Championship T-shirts, but I think they know, they've done the maths, but the maths dictate there are just under 4 minutes remaining.
Yeah, there's no way they can't finish with enough laps. 70% is the cutoff, and they're only 2 laps down at the moment, and we're going to have time for 2 more after this. So potentially going to finish a maximum of 5 laps down. 33 laps is probably going to be the race distance. So they are champions, hence the T-shirts.
Wonder how many T-shirts across the year have had to been put quietly back into the box when things go amiss, not in this championship per se, but everything else. But right, we're about to have the AM class leader, the race leader lap the potential Pro-Am champions who we think have got it in the bag. But I've never seen someone go around so slowly for so many laps because they think the job is done. Normally, you just carry on at your normal pace. It's a safer pace to race at. There may well be a problem, or quite simply, it's a Sunday morning drive for Mechanic Motorsport, but it's almost out of character to run this slowly.
Yeah, we're getting reports they're just on the full course yellow limiter, so obviously a problem for that car, and they are literally limping it back at 80 kilometres an hour right now, and this will be another scary moment for Forminac, who has got these fast cars coming up quickly, and again Forminac doing a good job to stay out the way.
Well, it's purgatory for them, but they know the championship for the Pro-Am title is within their grasp. But full course yellow limiter stuck. Oh, that is it. Extraordinary. But there we go. There must be so much contact with the pits. Are you sure it's okay to carry on going around this slowly? Right, 2 minutes remain. Philippe Pret backed off his pace. Luca Pirri, more to the point, has picked up just banged in his fastest lap of the race. I talked about how the speed was there for the LP Racing Audi. Once it got clear, suddenly delivering. So it's an LP Racing 1-2. The Maserati leading the race with Philippe Pret and Luca Pirri uncorked. Remember, not so long ago, before the round of pit stops, the flurry of rain, back in 6th place overall. However, chose the moment and now stretching his legs.
Yeah, just looking at the order, it's an all-AM top 3, isn't it? The Pro-Am cars have had their issues, and the safety car have helped the AM cars relative to the pros they were up against in stint 1 of this 1-hour race, and that feels some time ago now, doesn't it? And this race has given us everything, and it's been some phenomenal drives. Philippe Pret really showing the class that he is and has been this season and previous years, of course. And Luca Pirri, for me, has been probably my standout driver of the weekend, has had really strong pace as we look at those T-shirts ready to shine.
The future's so bright, I've got to wear shades. So that's the GT2 Pro-Am champions waiting for their cars to come round with every lap. The title is in the bag, and the AM title was won yesterday by the driver of this #1 Maserati from LP Racing. That's Philippe Pret. He did it with an outright victory. He's only about to go and do that all over again. What a weekend from the man from Monaco. And of course, he'll then be able to step away from his car, celebrate with his team, and then go and watch his son Louis taking part in the main race, the second of the GT World Challenge races this afternoon. And he'll have a very big smile on his face, you can be sure, when he's in the garage, 59 pit garage.
Suddenly changes from racing driver to racing dad, and the latter being more stressful, I can assure you of that one. But right now he is just focusing on enjoying this GT2 car around Valencia, and half a lap to go as he fires through the part of the track where he claimed the race lead from De Martin so well, and that made the big difference because Luca Pirri's pace is similar to Philippe Pret, but the move was done so efficiently by this #1 car.
It really was. He stayed with the pros in the first part of the race. He started picking them off, and it's come to him. Yeah, the lead's come down enormously. Fastest lap from Luca Pirri behind, but it doesn't matter. They're teammates as it happens, but LP Racing will take a 1-2, and for Philippe Pret, it's just counting through the final few corners. Up to turn 12, first time all race, he can just back off through there a little bit. That was the corner, and of course it was where Mauro Calamia in the other Maserati came unstuck, put it off, stuck it in the gravel, ended his race and ended the championship challenge in the Pro-Am class, and that really put Broniak Formignac and Stefan Racina into the driver's seat. There they are, going around as slowly as any championship I think has ever been claimed, but down to take the final time down the start-finish straight, checkered flag waving, victory for LP Racing. And in the background it's an LP Racing 1-2, the Audi of Luca Pirri close to, well, just 6 seconds on the line. Third place to Petrolizza. He drove well in that Mercedes, just came unstuck trying to get past Alberto De Martin. He managed that, but there we have it. And the top runner in the Pro-Am class, flashing headlights there, maximum points for Alberto De Martin. But it won't be enough to take the Pro-Am championship, because that goes to this crew, the Mechanic Motorsport Lamborghini crew. Stefan Racina started, and Broniak Formignac going around super slowly, no problem. He'd done the maths. Or if there was a problem, it was very timely because it didn't really count. It wasn't going to derail them. And round he will come. But the overall race winner, the AM title. So we've got the Pro-Am champion in front, several laps down, and the AM champion, Philippe Pret, tucked in behind. Yeah,
they copied each other's homework, didn't they, on the colour scheme for the cars as well. Completely different teams. And there is the LP team racing, celebrating once more. Phenomenal job by all the crew there at delivering such a good car for Philippe Pret.
Yeah, plenty of celebrations, and now they can really relax. But there were moments of tension for them this meeting. But for Philippe Pret and the gang, what a meeting for them. 2 AM class wins, 2 outright victories. They bagged the AM title yesterday, and today, by coming home effectively in last place, that was still enough in terms of points, in terms of race percentage, to gather points to put in the pot. They will head to Barcelona, the Michanek Motorsport crew, Bronick Formignac and Stefan Racina, with the Pro-Am title in the bag. They too can go and enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
Pressure off.
Yeah, and this car still hasn't taken the checkered flag because of the issue it's doing, so it's holding up our race finishing procession, but it still has to take the checkered flag. So this has been a long race finish, and this is hard for the officials as well, because this is delaying the timetable effectively, as this car has been cruising around at 3-minute lap times. And yep, he will take the checkered flag and take the championship as probably the slowest finish I've ever seen to a race.
They had to hold their breath. But there are the celebrations for Stefan Racina. There he is, fist in the air. Yesterday was a tough race for them, and certainly Stefan Racina looks rather fresher at the end of this one than when he was sitting on the steps of the podium yesterday.
Probably fresher than when he was flying through the gravel trap at 12 as well after that mistake. So very lucky to get away with that one, because the turn 12 curse hurt their rivals in the championship, of course, and that's how much it means to everyone, all the hours that go in. And the motorsport hours are a different rule, it would seem, for the crew. They'll be here at 7 AM every day, and they will leave when the job is done, and sometimes that loops round to the next 7 AM without seeing your hotel.
Entirely so. So at the end of the GT2 European Series, the second of their 2 races here at Valencia, Drama is still completing its slowdown lap. In fact, it hasn't slowed down at all, because it was running so slowly because of whatever problem was within. But Philippe Pret, 2 outright victories in 2 days. He bagged the AM Championship yesterday and extended his margin today. Eventually, teammate Luca Pirri in the Audi chased after the Maserati, got to within 6 seconds. So a great result for them. 3 AM runners in the top 3 positions, with Petrolisa and Andros Rokos in 3rd overall, winning the Pro-Am category today. 4th place it for so long was 2nd place for Alberto de Martin. Building on the work of Neil Montserrat, he did get passed by 2 drivers in the space of 1 corner, but 4th takes maximum points in the Pro-Am class. Oliver Framuth stayed with the pack today, 5th place overall, 4th in the AM class, and the remaining finisher, and just about finishing now, Bronick Formignac and Stefan Racina, but they take the Pro-Am title with the final races still to come at Barcelona. So as the cars make their way through, let's confirm the points. Pro-Am, the title is now in the bag. They needed a margin of 53 points. That's precisely what they have. So 2025 Pro-Am champions, Bronick Formignac and Stefan Racina. Mauro Calamia and Roberto Pampanini didn't finish. They were leading the race. Mauro slid off, and that very much ended the title challenge. Neil Montserrat and Alberto de Martin close in 3rd place overall, just 15 points down, so they could yet move into 2nd place in this championship at the final races at Barcelona. Disappointment for Matta Homola, no score today, retired at the end of the opening lap. He otherwise could have moved up into 3rd place overall, but it's a big push, but they've still got that final round to come. And the winning car and the sister car, the Maserati and the Audi, both from LP Racing, Luca Pirri Racing, but Philippe Pret, the driver who's done it not once but twice and through into 3rd place. All the top 3 finishers from the AM class. Petrolisa bringing his Mercedes to a stop, and yep, he's done it again. Philippe Pret, wow, what a meeting he's having.
Yeah, pretty much full house, bar the fastest lap of the race, but he won't mind about that. And a full double win overall weekend, and phenomenal. And he'll be looking at De Martin saying, great race, and then thank you so much for holding everyone else up and letting me make my escape.
Yeah, that certainly eased the pressure, and eventually the pressure did tell on Alberto Martin. He needed to go a few more laps in 2nd position, but the pressure was really mounting. And there we are, LP Racing, 1st and 2nd, left of screen, the AM champion Philippe Pret, the race winner Philippe Pret, and Luca Pirri. He'll have enjoyed that scrap. He was fighting in both of the races, all distance, but both times towards the end, Luca managed to pull clear and gain position. Today, that was good enough for 2nd place overall.
Yeah, and phenomenal pace from the Audi this weekend. So hopefully that car will be in Barcelona, and we'll see a strong showing again from this LP Racing team.
It's always much slower process getting your helmet off since the sort of invention of the hands device. But there is our man of the moment. Yeah, plugs out, and we're going to go down and hear the thoughts of the AM champion and our outright winner, Philippe Pret, for the second day running.
Oh, Philippe, you sealed the AM title yesterday, and now you've very much backed it up with a brilliant double win. What a Valencia this has turned out to be.
First of all, I'm really happy to see you, because when I see you, it's because I win. All was perfect this weekend. A little bit chance on the race, and it's like this. And it's the and it's not never finished.
So deserved. Well done, Philippe.
Well, thumbs up. Victory for Philippe Pret. AM title already in the bag. Another AM victory today. But doing it 2 days running with outright victory, well, that's the mark of the man, the mark of the team. And certainly the Luca Pirri Racing, the LP Racing Maserati, a car very, very much on form. But today, with that little flurry of rain mid-race, that could have upset proceedings. For some, it did. But it was the other Maserati driver who got it wrong. That was Mauro Calamia. Not a wheel out of place today from Philippe Pret. So a double reward for him here at Valencia. And he will go home very, very happy indeed. And let's head down to our Pro-Am winner today. That was Alberto de Martin. We're going to speak to the champions instead. That's Mechaneck Motorsport. We're looking for them, but they're still down there. You can see the 5 cars. So the podium ceremony will follow, and it's a huge podium here in the paddock. It's a really nice touch. Instead of being in the pit lane where very few people can get there, it's in the paddock so the fans can get to see the drivers, the celebrations up front. And it's just another opportunity to put the racing to the people. Very good twist here at Circuit Ricardo Tormo. Podium ceremony is always a difficult thing to organise. Chasing drivers to get up there to accept their trophies. They do in their own time, but it's not their time. It's our time. Come on. So, podiums down there. The top 3 cars you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. And let's pop down. We're going to speak to our Pro-Am winners today. It's the NM Racing crew with Alex.
Alberto, Neil, what a place to do it at your home race. Congratulations. Great drive.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are really, really happy. Nice race. Nice race.
A word to your fans in Spanish.
Okay. Buenos días, buenas tardes a todos. Hemos ganado nuestra primera carrera en el Campeonato de Europa de GT2. Una gran victoria, con una carrera peleada, y estamos súper contentos.
This must feel very good after what was a very tough race 1.
Yes, absolutely. We are super happy. We are pumped to be here in P1 in our home race. We have our second home race in Barcelona, but to be here in front of all the Valencia fans in P1 Pro-Am with a great fight of Alberto in the second race. Alberto did amazing handling. We are so proud and happy of Alberto.
Gracias. Congratulations. Yes.
So that was Neil Montserrat and the driver who did the really hard job, Alberto de Martin. He needed just a few more laps to hold off, but the pressure was coming all the time. He had Petrolisa in another Mercedes, looking left, looking right, and all along Luca Pirri was behind the pair of them. It was always going to be a moment where the dam burst, and eventually it did. And that moment, Luca Pirri passed not just Alberto de Martin, but he also got past Petrolisa. So 2 moves in the space of 1 corner. But Pro-Am victory today. 4th place overall, still went the way of the NM Racing Team Mercedes. Job very well done indeed, but particularly by Alberto de Martin, who brought the car home under so much pressure. Great racing. And great happiness for the LP Racing team. And help Luca Pirri up. He worked hard for that. Again, both of the first 2 drivers from the team drove solo, but it was a really good move, Joe, wasn't it, from Luca? He waited and he waited. He was trying to see what Petrolisa could do, and eventually Petra was running out of ideas. Eventually Petra went too deep in the corner, following. Sometimes you just get sucked into the tail of the car you're chasing. Both Mercedes ran wide, and poof, the Audi was through.
Exactly, clean, pounced and precise. And he was wearing 2 caps there, Luca Pirri, wasn't he? 2nd place podium driver, and then went to team manager and owner to pose with his customer Philippe Pret. So doesn't get better as a race team owner. Driving yourself, finishing on the podium, and one of your customers winning the race and the championship yesterday.
Yeah, not always easy to manage, but certainly did a very, very good job today. But Well, I can hear in the background, it sounds as though the podium ceremony is about to crank into life. Let's take a look at the highlights of the second of the two GT European Series races here at Valencia. And it was Mauro Calamia leading away under pressure from Neil Montserrat into the first corner. The first overtake of the move coming from the KTM driver. That was Matto Homola. But by the end of the opening lap, just off left of screen, pulling out of the race, something very wrong in the engine department. So we kept on through the race. Philippe Pret decided to make a move, and he moved past the Michanek Motorsport Lamborghini. Stefan Racina, slightly complicit there, decided not to fight the position. But then, hold on, what was that? It's a flurry of water. There's windscreen wiper action. And then it was a case of picking your way up the form. A big moment for potential Pro-Am champions, but Stefan Racina got back to the circuit order again. But unfortunately for our race leader, just before he was coming for a pit stop after the flurry of rain, Mauro Calamia off at turn 12. Calamity for Calamia. Then it was the restart, and this was such a fierce battle. Philippe Pret got clear, and then he just pulled further and further away. Yeah, Stefan Ortelli like that. He's the driver coach, and it's great having that level of experience. But then this fantastic battle over second place, and finally the dam burst there in the space of one corner. Alberto De Martin lost not one but two places. Petrolisa going past him and then falling back, but then diving back in. But Luca Piri made the move up into second place, but nobody, yet nobody could catch Philippe Pret, clearing the lead of the race, and he coasted home. 2 outright victories in 2 days for this year's AM title winner. So Philippe Pret, what a meeting for him. Bronick Formanak and Stefan Racina, they are the Pro-Am champions. They got it done, and we've been incredible to find out why they were so slow to the end of the race. But they'd done the maths, they worked out what was required. Second place for them in the Pro-Am battle today. First place, 4th overall, Alberto De Martin, and alongside Neil Montserrat on the right-hand side of the podium. So they take maximum points, but the title already in the hands of the drivers on the left-hand side of the podium. Bronick Formanak and Stefan Racina. So that is it from the second of the two GT European Series. Incident from start to finish, but like the first race, it belongs to Philippe Pret. 2 wins in 2 days.